Kravets. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 237 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravets. Thanks for joining us on a special night as we are going to talk about all things Las Vegas this past weekend at the NHC, people we met, wonderful meals we had, and most importantly, the contest itself, my run in the contest, and then deep dive into the last race and strategy related to the prize pool and the odds on the board. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. I hope you have your paper and pencils ready, or at least your recording device out, because I'm really looking forward to the show. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. After you do that, of course, hit that notification bell. That'll tell you when new shows will arrive. And also smash that like button. That will tell YouTube this is a fun show to watch and bring other viewers and advertisers into the show. We'd greatly appreciate all that. As you can see there on the screen on my name tag, you can follow me on Twitter at @HKravets. We had a lot new followers, so welcome. I'm assuming we're going to have many new viewers to the show as well, based on what happened this past weekend. And of course, you can reach me on email, bottom of the screen, hkravetshorse@gmail.com. We have audio platform on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Check us out there with all of our episodes. The Power Picks. We're going to talk about the Power Picks a little more when I bring on my two great co-hosts, my co-hosts and guests tonight. But the Power Picks continue to pound it. Anyone that subscribes is making a ton of money. And I also sent out a little video that I send out every week that smashed it. So the Power Picks, look below the video player for information about the weekly Power Picks. They arrive to you on Saturdays, $4 a Saturday. I mean, are you kidding me? Based on the prices and the pick fives we're giving out, if you're not involved, you're missing out completely. We have a new sponsor, BetUS. Now, BetUS is a great sports betting platform, and with the NCAA tournament coming up, if you need somewhere to place some bets, BetUS is fantastic. You can see there are 200 games per day, 300, 400 props. If you use a code RACING3H, again, RACING3H, if you deposit $100 or more, you get 125% back with that deposit. All the information is below the video player. If you need someone to bet games and you do not have a betting account through a casino, go to BetUS and use RACING3H for that great promotion right there. And then finally, we have a wonderful website, hhhracingpodcast.com. We welcome all comments. We want a very live chat. I'm expecting a lot of people tonight to watch. We already have people in the chat. Jim Pilars. Jim, buddy, how you doing? Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind thoughts. We got Michael Austin, who was on the show last night at Bettin and Boozin. He's back again. If you have any comments, if you're watching this on Twitter, you're probably best off going to YouTube. That way you can place some comments in the live chat. So you might want to go ahead and do that. All right. I think that pretty much covers all of that. Let me bring on two people that are a big part not only of this show, but in my life, and were a big part of the extravaganza that happened in Las Vegas. First, the host of Bettin Boozin, a little bit under the weather. And by the way, I think he's going to clear up for the record. I am not short. He is very tall, the one and only Kyle Roscoe. And then the 2021 BCBC champion, and very proud to call a great friend, Mr. Matt Miller. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
I heard you accidentally call me a co-host a couple seconds ago. It brought a tear to my eye, and then I just got shoved right back to guest. So,
well, you know, that's what we'll call you whatever you want. Kyle, you are not. I am not 5'3".
No, you are not.
Tall.
I even cleared it up for you last night too, but I'll clear it up for you again. Howard is not 5'2".
Okay.
I'm just 6'4" and freakishly tall and sprouted completely in high school for no reason. So I promise he's not as short as that picture made it look.
what someone said, are you on a box or something? I mean, what the
Yeah.
hell? I don't know. Anyway,
That's
but
just Christine Race being funny.
I will say, Kyle, sorry, Kyle's under the weather. He'll do the best he can.
Yep.
Sorry about that, Kyle. I heard you may have a little bit sleep deprived, perhaps from a few late nights up in Vegas. Hard to believe that. Matt, you weren't exactly an early bird in Vegas either, from what I understand.
I would have probably gone with sleep deprived faster than depraved. Maybe Kyle was depraved. I was just a little deprived.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost a lot of sleep. I am not exactly the sort that stays up at night, but as we'll talk about, you got to get out and enjoy this town and these people that you're with. This is an absolute party if you let it be. And I just felt so badly for the people going upstairs, looking at their programs, and kind of wasting these opportunities, in my opinion.
Now, who possibly could that be? Well, I had 15,500 reasons to do that. So
you only did that a little bit, and understandably, the night before the last day, you had done your homework before. Give yourself some credit.
I did actually a lot of homework before, as much as I possibly could. We have a lot of people, guys. We got to bring up a lot of comments. Look who's here, guys. Philly Joe Mecca. Joe, thanks for watching the show, buddy. This guy, I can't say enough good things about. We're going to talk about the table, Matt and Kyle, and a bunch of things here, but Joe's a great guy. He's going to join us, of course, in at Saratoga as well. We got Jeff Amster. Matt, I was watching Libor on Thursday, and you were number 1 at one point during the last chance contest. Is that true, Matt?
Yeah, he's not lying to you.
All right.
I think on Twitter, actually, they were doing some interview of me at the time, and by fluke, I hit something. That went to shit pretty quickly, but at the time, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So let me tell you what we're going to be doing tonight. For those of you watching, and if you're listening, we are going to talk in details about contest strategy, about the last race. We're going to do that about 20 minutes in. So if you don't care to hear about great people that we met and fun stories, maybe a little bit R-rated or whatever, who knows what we're going to be talking about, come back in about 20 minutes and we'll be talking about contest strategy. But part of Vegas is, of course, the experience. And so we got to, talk about that. So guys, and we're going to talk about my specific plays and a few other things. We're not going to show replays. We're not going to show PPs or any of that. So the first thing that I want to do, guys, is talk about the experience. Now, Matt, you and I have talked quite a bit about the difference between the BCBC and the NHC. And Kyle, at 23 years old, have now experienced both, which is absolutely crazy. Matt, you've been to the NHC before. You and I both prefer the format from a contest perspective, just purely contest of the BCBC. But I got to say, just being in Vegas and being in such an awesome room with everyone in it is a pretty cool experience.
It's amazing. I mean, you can get all the benefits of Vegas. I do get there a little early, really for the entertainment value and seeing people. I would say after that point, look, there's some similarities between these things, but honestly, very little. My preparation is wildly different for the two events. One involves near nothing, and the other involves quite a bit. And so this is fun from the start. There's no racetrack experience. There's no horses there. And so it's kind of back to your OTB experience from when you were a kid, probably. But the feeling of that convention room, I mean, even the lighting and the TVs and just the massive murals of horses, it's cool stuff. I mean, it's funny. I'm looking behind you. Everyone gets one of these, and most of us remember to keep them. I see it. Of course, you keep that stuff. I mean, for people that haven't been, you show up and you have a nice folder, and there's cool stuff in the folder.
Yeah.
You get a cool seat card that shows how you qualified. You get a program with all sorts of information from before. If you're a loser like me, you save your betting cards. I'll show something cool to this podcast. You're not going to be able to read this, but the host of this podcast was smart enough to actually contact the NTRA and get something about this podcast put in every single one of these booklets. So that was pretty cool stuff. And then you keep it because it's a great memory. And even if you didn't cash or win, it's a fun time. And you walk away with great dinners and great friends. And this crew just grows every year. And if you care about the kind of people you surround yourself with, and you considerately add to your group where appropriate, you end up with a really high quality group of people. And hands down, hanging with our group of these two tables was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, it was awesome for sure. Michael Austin prefers the BCBC actually. Marco Lou, I always knew math teachers go to Vegas on the weekends as a side hustle. Hashtag counting cards. Marco, I have no idea what you're talking about. So, but anyway,
Yeah, there were
thanks.
tons of them there.
Yeah, there were. Thanks for your comments, Kyle. We got to talk to you, and then I'll bring up a few things for myself. You and I have talked many times. You've mentioned on Bettin and Boozin, you've mentioned on our flagship show, the experiences you've had are unbelievable. How would you compare the NHC to the BCBC? And just briefly, maybe mention one or two people that you met for the first time that you were really excited to see.
I mean, yeah, there's just the fact that I'm able to be at these things is an absolute gift. I've said that many times before, but I will never stop saying it just because of how insane it is. Whether it's from meeting horse racing royalty, as I call it, sitting at these two tables, to meeting two random people at the craps table who will most likely be at the grade 1 gamble when we go at Keeneland. It's mind blowing to me that the whole Vegas experience, like you said, is just, it's uncomparable. Realistically, it's the whole camaraderie of Vegas. Obviously the convention room and everything there was an absolute, it's so cool. You get people, especially during mandatories, every single person, all 750 people are watching one race. And then, they turn for home and you start to hear the rise of everybody cheering for the one horse that they need to get through. And especially if you see a bomb coming flying at the end, there's definitely going to be some people having it in the room. So it's an unforgettable experience for sure. It's definitely different to the BCBC, like you stated, how, it's all in one room. During the BCBC, you guys can, they can be scattered throughout the entirety of the track, basically. And obviously everyone likes to watch the races differently, but when you're all confined into one space, it becomes an awesome experience.
Well, and I'll make a point kind of differentiating the two. The BCBC, at least from my standpoint, feels more private.
Yeah.
It's a battle of you against your bankroll against yourself. You've heard me talk about this before about setting goals and whatnot, and you're much more in control of your own destiny. And at the NHC, you're all together, and it's a much more social event, and you are a bit less in control of your own destiny. No matter what you do, there are tons of people in the room that have done the exact same thing. And so in some ways that's cool, in some ways that's more challenging, but it's a very different experience.
Yeah, it's some person that spent a lot of time with us racing downwind was at our table Saturday. Good evening, gentlemen. Nice meeting Matt Miller on Saturday. And of course, seeing Kyle and Howard again. It was a great time sitting at your war room table and racing downwind, saw all the emotions. I'm pretty mellow guy for the most part when I watch races. I think people that know me know that. But there were some times, especially Saturday afternoon, when I was making a run and realized I was going to be in the final round, which was my goal all along. I shot out a few times, and Kyle, part of the reason why you're sick, Kyle, I think, was it nurse or something? We got to, whatever you guys, I don't know,
we'll tell this.
Courtney, whatever the hell that was. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, listen, I want to mention some people personally that I met for the first time. I actually have a sheet here. I've got a few things I'm going to show everyone here. Here's the first one I'm going to show, and I'm going to go full screen. I think people can read that pretty well. These are the people that I met for the first time. Okay, for the first time this past weekend. NTRA President Tom Rooney, Steve Bick, who's the host at the races, who's just, everyone knows who Steve Bick is. Amazing. It doesn't get bigger than that in the media world. Doug Bradar, husband of Kate and Bradar, former agent of Florent Giroux, was at the table next to me. Pat Cummings, who is an amazing guy. If you don't know what Pat Cummings is, you should. David Crone, who is the DRF, who I've talked to many times. He's like, oh, you're the guy that's been emailing me a few times. Yep, that's me, David. And then contest players. And Matt, you know these guys very well, at least three of them. I don't know if you'd met Jack before, but Matt Vagvolgi, Scott Coles, and Christian Helmers had the chance to meet, and Jack Jenkins as well. Matt Vagvolgi and Scott Coles were at our table, Matt, as I take this. I'm going to leave it off the screen. I can't say enough good things about these guys. I've heard them on, in the money media. And of course, I know their wonderful results in contests. Two great guys. And Matt, I have to say this, for everyone to hear. They could have just been, you know, nice to me and, you know, focused. Any questions I had, especially Matt, because he was sitting next to me, they answered. They were very willing to help me out when they realized it wasn't going to happen for them and I was making a run. I lean on them a little bit for just strategy, not necessarily handicapping. Two great guys, Matt, those two specifically.
Yeah, I mean, you could see what attracted me to them instantly. I got lucky to sit with the two of them. They were already buddies. They had killed it at the final table. I think it was the year before. And they're just fascinating to listen to. We have different approaches to the way we pick, the way we play, the way we prepare. You know, we're very different. And I'm very open-minded to the way they do things. And they're really informative, especially when it comes to the strategy and specifics around this tournament. I can't state strongly enough, and I am absolutely trying not to get mean when I talk to the people about the people at the final table, but I cannot say strongly enough how important it is to surround yourself with someone or some people that know what they're doing and understand the game you're playing. And you can absolutely see from behaviors at that final table, yeah, there were people that weren't as lucky as we were to be sitting with the people we were sitting with.
Well, it's sitting at the table next to us because I don't want to give these guys short shrift.
Oh, right,
People that I've already met. But how about sitting next to us, literally a few feet away? Nick Tamaro, who finished very well. He got to the final round. Just a tremendous guy who I had a chance to talk to and meet now on several occasions. Travis Stone, of course, the racetrack announcer at Churchill, and Kyle didn't know what he looked like, and he just, you know, he was there for a while. And it's like, Kyle, you know what that is? He's like, no, that's the guy that calls the Kentucky Derby. So Kyle had a chance to meet Travis Stone. I know I'm missing some. I don't
Marshall
know.
Graham.
Sorry, I knew this would happen. I'm so sorry, Marshall Graham. Marshall Graham at 10 Strike Racing. It's just.
We had Drew at our table. We don't want to forget him.
Well, we mentioned Drew, right? Drew was at our table. I mean, so let's Drew Coatney, the 2022 BCBC champ. Kyle was a great group. Was there one person that you really enjoyed? It doesn't have to be from our group, just anyone that you met that you were really impressed by.
Well, like you said, I mean, I haven't met a lot of the people, especially at the second table. Matt and Scott were both really great. When I was, I mean, who gives a crap about me, playing like the consolation and stuff like that, but they were helping me out as well, which is, just very, very thankful for that. And then, obviously all the guys at the other table, Nick Tamaro's a super guy. Meeting Travis Stone for the first time, he was really good. Philly Joe, me and him shared a few sentiments. And I will give a special shout out to Pat Cummings, who I sat across from at dinner, which we'll talk about on Friday, which is what an absolutely amazing mind to pick at dinner.
Like an encyclopedia. I mean, I couldn't, as you know, it was allowed in there and other physical issues I've got, but I couldn't hear exactly what he was saying. But I mean, you should have a tape recorder with you, Kyle, because that's gold right there.
Yeah, it really is. And, we talked about all the things he's done with the TIF and all that, the Thoroughbred Idea Foundation, for those of you that don't know. Just like I said, being able to pick his brain a little bit and just him, talking back and forth with me, I greatly appreciated that. So special shout out to Pat.
Guys, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk for 2 minutes. Then we'll get to the horse racing part of the show to talk about this that you're about to see on the screen, guys.
Yep.
Matt Miller, I have to give you full credit for this. And if you've been to Vegas, I'm assuming most people have watched this show, have been to Las Vegas. If you have any meal ideas next time we're out in Las Vegas, please put them in the chat. But Matt Miller made all the dinner reservations. And Kyle, I have to say, I've been to a lot of nice places in my lifetime. I'm not sure I've had 3 dinners in a row that were remotely close to these dinners. We went to Maestro's, Carbone, and Mamafoku. Matt, wow. That's all I have to say.
All right. So in fairness to Mastro's, you have to take out the E. People.
I'm sorry. Okay, it's bad. My bad.
No, but
right now.
Good. And
there you go.
And the trick for people, whether you're going to these restaurants or otherwise, just trust me on this. Big reservations and find someone at the table. Maybe when you're at a steakhouse, you can go on your own, but otherwise, these different kind of restaurants, find someone adventuresome at the table to order for the table. They will order all sorts of weird stuff that you would be way too conservative to get on your own. And that's all the stuff that's so amazing at these dinners. So half the time I couldn't even tell you what it was, but it was just phenomenal.
Okay, Matt. Again, the pork dish at Mama Foku, that starts with the B as in boy.
Balsam.
Okay,
Yeah.
this balsam. I'm not a foodie, ladies and gentlemen. That was like, not that I would know what crack cocaine tastes like or would I ingest or whatever. Uh, that was unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
And then like the crust on the end, the juice. I don't know what you call it, Kyle. Holy shit.
The glaze most likely
The
for you
glaze.
non-foodies out there,
Wow.
but yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, they served it with white rice, put it over white rice. I mean, that's even that steak that they put out there was one of the best steaks I've ever had.
We thought dinner was over.
Yeah, we did.
They came
Yeah.
back with the best part. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Racing Downwind, who lives in Vegas, is about to go to Prime at Bellagio, Matt. That's a great spot, too.
Yes,
Next time we'll have to check out Prime at Bellagio as well. All right. Anyway, I just thought it'd be the dinners, the meals, just everything was the interesting street performers. I mean, it's Vegas, guys. We all know what goes on in Vegas. And Matt, of course, took care of his fan club outside of the hotel with some wonderful prizes and goodies that everyone enjoyed. Of course, Matt. So you were Santa Claus. You were just giving everything.
Especially for someone that didn't make the cut in the NHC, I might have had the best time of anybody there. Yeah.
There's no question you had fun. Now, as we get into the picks here, let's be clear. Kyle, just so everyone knows, because not everyone knows, Kyle, you were trying to qualify for the NHC, and you were in the last chance. And then, Matt, of course, you were in the event. And so very briefly, guys, talk about your specific contest experience, then I'll get into mine. Kyle, you go ahead first.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say I'll go first because obviously Matt's gonna give you way more depth in his answers. But I'll full disclosure, I haven't been playing Pick and Praise. So I've been playing contests for that long, frankly. But Pick and Praise, I played my second and third Pick and Pray contest this weekend, and I was very happy. What?
So
Matt?
call it mythical bankroll, because pick and pray, I think, means you make your picks all in the morning.
Okay, yeah, but the mythical bankroll, the $2 win place of mythical money, as people say, it's a very different. And I'm sure we'll talk about this as we continue to go into it. And I'm sure a lot of people know it's a very, very different thing from the live money tournament like the BCBC. The strategy is completely different. Obviously, the way you're betting is completely different. So it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve for me, which is why I wanted to get a little bit of progress before I went to the NHC. But I was just very happy with putting myself in position. I caught a bunch. I think I caught 3 6-to-1s in a row in the middle of the day, which put me. I think they paid top 28, I think, and I was 31st or something like that. And I think I dropped to about 40th going into the last race. And I just, I had a 9-2 at Tampa that just didn't end up working out. But, all of these contests, and then even the consolation that I ended up playing afterwards was I brought myself to the last race as well. So being able to pick these horses, these middling price horses, which I'm sure I'll leave to Matt because he'll tell you about everything that there is to know about this type of stuff. But being able to pick these middling price horses that are coming over the top. And for all of you that know, I'm not good at picking middling price horses. I'll take 6-to-1 doubles with the chalk all day long. But it was definitely an amazing experience. And like I said, just being able to put myself in the position to win, it won't be that long before that final horse finally comes in for me.
Oh, I'm not just saying this because, you're a host on one of my shows here. I mean, you are so far ahead of the curve than I was. And I'm sure Matt, I'm assuming as well. And just most 23-year-olds out there, it's just unbelievable. So your time will absolutely come. Matt, you had a tough experience. You were just right there. It's going to be a little painful to talk about, but based on your previous contest scores, I think you'll be okay mentally with your ego. You were right there. You had an opportunity. You used some horses. You use the board. You don't do a lot of handicapping, as you've talked about. You use some horses that I recommended that I used and not used. Talk about a little bit, especially the end of day 2 for you.
Yeah, sure. So even that last chance tournament, I'm lucky enough to already be qualified for next year. I won something with Express Bet. And so I still did that first chance, last chance with Kyle to get a second qualification would be nice. And there was a ton of cash available. It was just a huge pot. And it's good practice and fun. I would say my preparation was literally zero. I don't think I cracked a PP all day. And you all saw, or those of you that saw, I think at the 2/3 mark, I hit first place. There were then some bombs that went the wrong way. I still, I think, had a chance towards the very end with a live pick or two. Fail. That's fine. The NHC itself was a near carbon copy of last year. Catastrophe, if I'm being honest. Again, maybe the cool part, and I sound like I'm boasting. It's not really boasting. I just genuinely believe that the homework for this event does not pay off in the way it does for others. I did literally none for the second year in a row. And for the second year in a row, I think I missed the cut by about $4 or $5. I mean, it was one pick. I think I had 2 picks in each of the last 2 years. I just needed any cash to get there. And right at those moments that it counted, I couldn't get there. And so, good for you, Howard. I mean this sincerely. You've gotten to a place I haven't gotten to. I would have loved to have gotten there. Just the lack of preparation doesn't at all contradict the fact that it's something I want very much. I'm just not sure that the preparation necessarily matters. But yeah, it got towards the end of day 2, and I just could not find a winner, and that's how it goes.
I walked around all weekend, especially on Sunday, hearing people say I zeroed out Friday, I zeroed out Saturday. It's a whole different ball of wax. We're going to get into it real, in just a second here. Marco Lou has a comment. David Wells, who was one of the finalists, had 2 seats in the finals, which is amazing. We're going to talk about that. Questionable play to not take a chance on one of his tickets. Matt, we'll talk about that because it's fascinating.
For a second so I did have 2 plays myself. And at some point was asked, someone interviewed me and asked a question about that. Without question, in my opinion, and we'll get to the final table later, but without question, the proper play is to do exactly what that person did. You layer these 2 sets of picks directly on top of one another until the moment it counts, which is really just about when that final table opens up, maybe a little before. And the power of the spread in the block at that point is enormous. I confessed I wanted to maximize my fun. And so right off the bat, I took my 2 entries and went in 2 different directions. I just figured I wanted to be alive to a couple of horses each race. And I didn't mind taking a little risk of an uneven distribution. Didn't work out great. The good news was, at least on the entry with the bonus, I did have the amount that was higher. So at least I didn't blow that. But I admit even that was 50-50.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Matt, but since Drew only has a few minutes, I just wanted Drew
Awesome.
Coney's live in the chat. Drew, what's up, buddy? Can only tune in for 2 minutes, but cheers, gents. Drew, you were a huge part of the weekend. It was his wonderful wife's birthday also on Saturday. So a shout out to Nancy again. Happy birthday. It was a great weekend.
And Nancy, congrats on, we did, I think it was Korean karaoke. I don't remember the name.
Yep. Yeah,
it was unreal. It was phenomenal. And she was a great singer.
There will be video out on Twitter. When is that coming out, Matt?
We had rules. There's no.
Okay. All right, we're not going to see it. Yeah. So
my performance, but that's just me.
Oh well. Listen, if you had a good performance, Kyle, I think people in the chat would love to see it. So anyway, let's get on to my specific situation. We're not going to. There we go. Drew mentioned future K-pop stars, perhaps. I don't know about Matt, but maybe Kyle there. I don't know. Maybe, I'll have to be the judge after listening to the karaoke. Guys, let's talk about my plays now. Preparation. This is my first time playing the NHC. Everyone knows I'm a full-time high school math teacher. I cannot spend 15 hours the 3 days before the NHC preparing. There are 18. There's 8 mandatories on Friday and Saturday, and 10 optionals on those days as well. So you have 18 races each day. I would say before the mandatories came out, I honestly spent, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Thursday, whatever. I probably spent, I'll put it about 10 to 12 hours legit handicapping before I even went to Vegas. And then, of course, I spent some time there. So I did about as much prep as possible. And people said, how do you handicap 38 races in X amount of hours? You don't handicap every race. You briefly look at the race. You look at the field size. You look at the class. The first thing I did, guys, is I looked at the time form early U.S. pace rating, which might sound a little bit of a weird place to start. But I want to see if there were any obvious lone speeds or pace collapses. That's actually one of the first things I did. I recommend that for people out there. And then we got into the tournament. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up my Friday situation. And again, we're not going to deep dive necessarily, but it's worth talking about. I'm going to go full screen here. So this is literally, guys, I didn't do this after the fact. This is what happened on Friday. This is in the mandatories. So there were 8 races. I only had 1 winner in 2 seconds. And Matt, I know we're all off screen right now, but the mandatories really, because everyone has to play them, that could make a huge difference. And obviously this is not the best result
well
for the mandatories in the first day.
Yeah, not a great job. I mean, that's probably a typical job, but I wouldn't look at that and say that person cashed.
No, pretty crazy right now. If you want to rip on the first one with only a 540 mutual, that's fine. I did not do that much at all. That was just sort of, I wanted to get off to a good start and get some money up there. The horse got bet down, shocking. I think the horse was like 5-2 going to the post and got bet down to like 8-5. So I didn't really bet an 8-5 as I thought. Anyway, I had some good opinions. They just didn't work out. I was playing a lot of middling 6-1, 12-1 prices. Now, the optionals were better. I had 10 races there, had 2 wins, a lot of seconds. I had a lot of close seconds. I had some heartbreaking photos. I had some ones that are not. My winners were only 2-1. The last Oaklawn race on Friday was very big for me. It was a 7-1 catch with 860 to place. So, Matt, although you don't want seconds, or Kyle, although you don't want seconds, Kyle, talk to you. The money does pile up. I mean, 340, 280, 360. Every little dollar amount counts.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, and especially if you're getting, obviously those place prices are a little bit lower on the spectrum, but if you're catching these 9-1, 10-1s, and you get these seconds, I mean, $5, $6, even $7 as you get up the odds. I mean, that makes a big difference. You pile a few of those on, it's like catching a 10-1 shot, which obviously it's not the best spreading it out over 3 races, but like you said, you can still garner a bunch of money just being, and even if you have second-itis, they'll end up coming in at some point, but it definitely does pile up.
So, Matt, I was 71st, I believe, going into.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry. I was $71. Excuse me. I had $71 and change. I was like low 110s. The cutoff was 78. Nothing very. I'd say above average to semi good. I'm in a good spot right there.
So if you throw out the top couple, because at the very top, at least in the beginning, those people look uncatchable because as a percentage, they're so far ahead.
Yeah.
But the amount of compression is so crazy that the difference between being in 110th and 50th might be $10 or something like that. And so, right, you were all down on yourself for not hitting winners. And I'm telling you, just cashing as consistently as you did was huge. If you do the math, and I didn't, if you literally broke even in this tournament and just cashed your $2 win in place, if you just got back your money every time, I think you'd qualify for the last day. We'd have to go do the math to see, but it's close. And so the point is, when you make a bet and your horse doesn't win, but you get back $5 to place,
yeah.
I don't know that I would have made that pick if I had known that was the maximum return that I could have had, but you had the exposure to the win, and to pick up the $5, look, you got your $4 back. So you're kind of ahead of the game by $1 and move on. That's a nice pick.
Well, if you had, let's do quick math, because I think we're all pretty good at math here. 36 races, that's 100 and 20, that's 144. $144 would put you even. I think to qualify was somewhere
160 something, 160.
Yeah, 170 or something. It's hard to believe, but it's really So you're not that far off there, Matt. Now,
so if you had just hit 3-2 shots the whole time, I mean, it's crazy, but it's 1-2 shots. I mean, it's that simple.
Right, which of course is hard to do. Now, before we get into our Saturday, Jeff Amstar has a question for you, Matt. Specifically, did you feel any extra pressure with the $1 million bonus attached to the entry? And was your second entry, which was your, I believe, designated $1 million bonus, did you play that differently than your first entry?
So the Larry David and me, of course, put on a show and said, of course, if I'm going to hit something for $1 million, it's going to be on the one I'm not trying as hard. So let's put it on my B entry. it would be very me to win it on my B entry. The truth is, I'm not full of BS. I really believe this to be tantamount to playing bingo. Kyle and I in the beginning were playing a game where I would pick two horses in my head that I was going to pick. I'd hand him my cards. He'd mix them up, and I'd just go put down the bets.
Yep.
Eventually, when entry 2 hit something, that started getting a little bit more focused. But for someone that wasn't handicapping, this really was all about playing the board and the odds. And it was 50-50 that my second entry would be higher than my first. I got lucky. No, there was no extra pressure. I don't know how much extra pressure someone feels playing bingo, even if the prize is massive. You can still only kind of do what you can do.
Yeah, and I do want to push back on one thing that I've heard on Twitter and I've heard on radio, that this is a handicappers contest. Whoever picks the most winners wins. No, this is not whoever picks the most winners. If that was the case, they'd have 36 races, which they do, and whoever picks the most winners wins, irrespective of the price. The price matters. You do have to go value shopping, and I think Matt, because of Matt's day that he had off to the side, I think he can verify that I had a lot of winners, but I just was not going to play a 6-5 or 7-5 in this tournament. It's just not going to do you any good in general.
Yeah, and look, it's probably a bit more a sophisticated, too sophisticated conversation for this exact setting, but I do feel like I stumbled upon a way to play cash and semi-hedge against the NHC. You kind of realize that you're playing price shots in the NHC, and in general, you're getting beaten by favorites. And if you're not on a good run in the NHC, you can pair some doubles or pick threes together. And there was a point on day one where I couldn't hit anything in the contest and was ringing the register like crazy with these doubles over and over. Okay, it made it fun. I mean, that's especially for something that I look at as somewhat random. That part was certainly less random.
Kyle, do you know what your biggest price do you score on the weekend? The odds off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, based on in the contest, I believe I had an 8-1. I believe that was my highest one. So I didn't have any monsters that came in. And the thing that sucks about a contest like this, where your $2 mythical money is you can hit 8-1s and 6-1s all day long, but in relative to 6-1s, and someone gets a 20, a 19-1 or a capper, that's 3 6-1s right there, basically. So
yeah,
it's just the way it is. But I believe 8-1 or 9-1 was my highest.
Keep the questions coming in the chat. We can't say everyone's questions, but Marco, we'll address your question on the bottom of the screen in a little bit. Guys, let's go to Saturday now. We've all had our ups and downs, and I've been doing this a long time. I've had some great days, but I think Saturday for me, Kyle and Matt, it's got to be in my top 5. And ironically, it's not really because I won a $30,000 pick 5 or anything. It was really more about an hour towards the end of Saturday. It just, things got crazy, and that's how this game goes. And it was pretty amazing. So let's go ahead and bring up my Saturday, guys. Now, the mandatories, as you can see, I crushed it. The mandatories, there were 8 mandatories on Saturday. I had 3 wins, Kyle and Matt, including an $18 winner at Gulfstream and a $21 winner at Santa Anita, the last mandatory of the day, which was an off-the-turf race. A Jose Valdivia with the mount there, giving me that score. I won the first race at Tampa. And also, which really, we talked about place money, guys. This is why you play longer shots. I mean, this horse right here, Laurel, I got $9 to place. I think it was like 14-1 I played. And then this Gulfstream race here, the race 12, I got $620 to play. So even the ones that I did not win, Matt, this was that was a very solid mandatory sequence for me.
Big time. Again, I'm looking at every race. If you can get your $4, $5, $6 back, on average, you're doing okay, and that's exactly what you're doing while losing. So yeah, that looks like the card of someone that's having a killer day.
Well, and then we go to the optionals. And the optionals don't look that good really on the surface, and it was okay. I mean, 10 races bet, only 2 wins, 1 second. People at home right now, people are home thinking right now, geez, I got to get myself in the NHC. Howard cashed for 15-5 and barely won races. Yeah, I can't argue that, but the ones that I'm hitting with in general, guys, are not easy. You're 7, 8, 10-1. I mean, it's not easy to hit those kind of, races. And, Saturday, this string here, this Golden Gate race, I got a bad trip there. The Oaklawn race, I won. I think that one I got excited about. Aqueduct, this horse, Matt, you know very well. We got to talk about this briefly. Matt, any thought for race 7 at Aqueduct, the number 5 horse trained by Ray Handel, Big Bean Christine? Matt, any thoughts on that horse, my friend?
Yeah, so it's embarrassing as heck if I'm honest about it. I was so busy pounding the heck out of that horse on the side, I literally forgot to bet him as an optional in the tournament, and that would have been enough. I should say that would have been enough to put me over the cut line.
Brutal.
So as I am, and I'm not a very public person, I can barely control my energy at times, but I try to do that up in private. And I am jumping around like a crazy person. I didn't even realize that I didn't play the horse in the NHC. Yeah, that's a little soul crushing to think that if I had just done that, that would have made all the difference. But it was an incredible job. The story behind the horse made a ton of sense. And yeah, she looked like a winner the whole time. It was fantastic.
Nah, it was cool. And then the last day, and then we're gonna get to the final race that everyone needs to really pay attention to, especially if you have any desire to do well in any live money format. Kyle, here's my the last day. I struggled. Listen, you got to call it like it is. I mean, that's what happened. We had 10 optionals. I'll go full screen, Kyle, and you can quick thoughts. 10 optionals. I had no wins, 2 seconds. I did have 2 good places with a 960 to place. And the last race, Matt, I thought I was a winner in the stretch. He just hung a little bit. That was the first race of the day, San Anita. It was a turf race. But Kyle, you know what? Here is my thought, and Matt, you can interject. In general, I'm in 34th on the final day, and we did the calculations. We're going to bring up the pool, the money that was alive to. I couldn't nickel and dime at this spot. For me, it was either get to the final table or not, Kyle. And, where I was about a $16,000 cash at the time. And there's only about a $3,000-$4,000 difference between that and right up to the final table. So listen, $3,000-$4,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people. It's not chump change for me. I don't want to sound, that I'm arrogant, but you know what? When you're in it to win and trying to get 800,000, Kyle, I'm just not going to play 2-to-1 shots and try to slow roll up to the final. I played like 4-to-1, 6-to-1 shots, and hoping to get to a situation where the last few races, Kyle, I can make a decision whether I need to play big or play small. And obviously, you see the first 5 races, I didn't cash, and that changed my strategy the rest of the day. On Sunday morning.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's whether you have the right strategy or not, it comes down to the fact of just having those horses cross the wire first. And some days it happens, like your Saturday, where you get a few winners at that 8, 9-to-1, $19 winners, $21 winners. And there's some days it just doesn't come through for you. But the strategy stayed the same. Like you said, you're not just going to, survive at that 30th place. Top 10's the goal. When you make it to Sunday, top 10's the goal. So you fire away, and like you said, sometimes, yep, exactly, Philly Joe. It's just
Why don't you read that, Kyle, for people that are be listening later?
Yeah, Philly Joe Mecca said you played 100% right. You had to go for the final table because, like you said, I mean, there's not that big of a difference. And then you get up to the final table, that's when you really start making pay jumps. And like I said, some days the horses come through, and some days they don't. And this is just one day that they ended up not.
Listen, Matt, go ahead, and then we'll get to the final race.
So two comments on this. Number one is there's a lot of really smart people that zero out their last bunch of races because the smart play at the time is to take crazier and crazier chances. So you can't really look at the final total and say that's indicative of how someone is. It's kind of like a horse easing up. It doesn't really mean they weren't capable of finishing the race, literally. So the other point to make on this tournament, and I've seen a couple questions about fairness, having 2 entries. I'm going to make an old reference to professional wrestling from The Rock. This is the people's tournament, without question. They have made this as fair, as democratic, whatever kind of equity term you want to apply. almost to a fault. The prize structure, first place in this tournament is so unbelievably high relative to the rest of the prize pool that really going for anything other than first, at least as a goal, doesn't make sense in the beginning. It may make sense as things are evolving to change, but otherwise, I mean, you look at the difference between, let's just pick something extreme like 16th place and 70th place. You know, that's a world of difference. And yet from a dollar's perspective, it's not even 10 grand. And so as you then start going up the prize pool, and again, this has nothing to do with privilege or income. This is about return on investment and being a smart player. And if you are, you know, we talked about it in context of the Breeders' Cup. If you're in a game, play the game. You can't, you know, superimpose artificial restrictions on yourself and whatnot if you can help it. I do get it that at the very, very end, you know, you may have to concede. You may have to make a more reasonable, conservative choice. But otherwise, when you look at this prize pool, it makes no sense to be going for anything other than the tippy top. You know, I guess if you're struggling with one pick to go to get across the cut line, okay, if it feels great to make the cut, and I confess I'm one of these small people that would have thought it would have been great to make the cut, yeah, I would have taken a favorite to do it. It's not the smart play, but it makes you feel good. But yeah, we'll get to it with the final table. But this document we're looking at is something that I don't think most of the people at the final table have seen before.
Well, no, and you know, the difference between not making the cut and making the cut is $12,000. So, and you look at it, there's only $100 breaks basically all the way up until 18th. When you go from 18 to 17, there's 1,000, and then you know, obviously it gets bigger. So really, my goal, I was hoping to get to at least 16th. I mean, because then you got a choice, you got $5,000 jumps. But
Yeah.
before 16th, I was at 34th. What was I at 16.4 to start the day, and 20th is 20. I mean, it's just not a lot. You know, it's not really what I'm there for. I'm trying to, you know, play big. So I just want to go ahead and show that. I have another screen, guys, that I'm going to bring up here in just a second. All right, let's get into the final day. Now, here we go, guys. The final race. Batten down the hatches, anyone. We're going to talk about 10 minutes, and that's about it. We really appreciate everyone enjoying the show. If you're watching the show and you were a competitor, I'd love to hear from you. If you are very familiar with live money contests, especially the $2 mythical win place, I'd love to hear from you. Matt Miller has more experience than myself and Kyle combined. I do have a lot of $2 win in place experience, but not nearly as much as Matt. However, I'm a math teacher for 26 years, and I feel like I'm pretty good understanding the math. But it's more than the math, Matt. There's also intent is huge here, and there are a lot of things in place. So let me just say this. I'm going to go full screen. Let me say this first of all, so what everyone sees. On the top left, there are the odds of the horses in the last race of the day. On the right side is the top 10 prize pool. And then you see the leaderboard here. These are the names of the people and their scores going into the last race. Now, the first thing I want to say, I'm going to put us on screen slightly. Congratulations to anyone who's on this board. You guys kicked ass. It's unbelievable. I have nothing negative to say about you guys getting there. It's incredible. It feels to me a little bit uneasy to even criticize anything because you guys were there and we were not. That being said, it is fair to make some questions, have questions, and make minor criticisms and comments because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for almost everyone here on the screen. As we also noticed, Matt, there were two people that had double entries. You had Paul Collier, who ended up winning, was in first and fourth going the last race. And then Stephen Wells was in seventh and ninth going in the last race. Matt, we're going to start with you first, okay? We could talk about this for an hour. But let's start with you first, okay? And I'm going to bring us a little bit on screen. I'm hoping everyone, I can't make the screen bigger because then you won't be able to see all the numbers. I hope people can see. Matt, let's go from the top down. The last race, before we say what Paul Collier should have done, what would you do if you had a $32 lead going to the last race?
So I need to back up a teeny bit from there.
Okay.
And I won't take too much time, but I would say going into this final table, we talked about this. I would have put him at about 3 to 5 odds. The other guy with 2 entries, I would have put at about 6 to 5. Everybody else, in my opinion, was 8 to 1 or higher. So the advantage of having these 2 entries was profound. One of these people, in my opinion, wildly maximized the opportunity, and one, I don't want to name names, although the name's on the screen. It's almost incomprehensible what I saw, and I do understand what the person did. I just can't believe that was their choice. It's funny. We walked into that contest room. I think there were 1 or 2 races that had already gone, and I had heard someone saying there was apparently a really good broadcast done by Hawthorne talking about the final table. There was a guy, John Gaspar, I wrote his name down. The guy was fantastic, and I would definitely recommend that as a listen. He seemed to have a great grasp on game theory, and he was spot on. I mean, he's just flat out calling out half these people in each race saying mistake, mistake, mistake. And we saw it immediately. I then heard some interviews after. Some of these people admitted that they continued picking the horses they liked. That's insane. I mean, quite literally, your past performances need to go into the trash can when you make the final table at the NHC. And, very quickly, this is about playing a game and a tournament and an odds board. The person in first and in fourth did exactly the right thing by protecting themselves from the only things that could hurt them. And so they blocked. They blocked the person that was in second with the right long shot. They blocked the people behind in fourth with a bomber. They did all the right things. And so it's funny, as each race went off, they would post the pics of each player along, with the race that was going off. And some people were watching the race, and some people like me weren't even watching the race. I'm just looking at the odds board and the picks. And literally about half of these picks were just completely mind-blowing, to the point, joking aside, I wanted to call wives and families saying, you need to tell your husbands to get help in the room. They don't understand what they're doing. I'm not going to name names. You can go through some of these picks yourself. But some of these people, in my opinion, obviously, I think everyone's trying their hardest, but they don't understand that their picks were actually minimized their potential. I mean, you could argue some of these picks were done throwing the competition. They were so bad.
I need the disclaimer banner. All opinions of Matt Miller are of his own and not of the HHH Racing podcast. Don't come after me. We'll talk about it a little more in just a second. Kyle, I got to ask you a question because you're in a unique situation, which is part of the reason why I wanted to have you on. Listen, everyone's bank accounts are different. Everyone's at a different place in their life. Everyone's got families, don't have families, make X amount of their jobs, don't make X amount of their jobs, whatever. You're a young guy. You love money just like everyone else, but it's fair to say that your financial situation might be a little bit different than myself, and which might be a little bit different than Matt's in terms of our personal lives. We're not going to get into details. Do you believe if you were one of these people, Kyle, that you would have the gumption, the guts, the balls to go with a least likely winner to get more money as opposed to maybe taking a low price and move up, let's say, to $5,000 more, which for someone like yourself or other people might be a huge deal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start getting into it too, Matt. But I don't see that, like, for me, especially, it depends on where you're at on. I mean, basically throughout the whole leaderboard, but it almost really doesn't. It's just these players, especially these players in like the lower tier, them going with. I'm not gonna say names. You can look at it for yourself of who I'm talking about.
What names? They're off the screen right now.
Well, exactly. That's what I like. That's what I like to hear. But one of the guys on the bottom of the leaderboard took the favorite. It was 6 to 5 or 3 to 2, whatever he ended up going off at. The horse did, and that for that whole thing, I think if that favorite would have hit, he would have moved up one spot, and it would have been
one spot twice though, which is so Matt. That's a $10,000 gain,
yep,
right?
correct.
Right. This is why the person, I'm sure, felt that they were so smart for finding that opportunity. Is they realized that a favorite winning was going to advance them 2 positions.
Maybe.
What
but
they
not
utterly-
necessarily, because it depends on who
Right.
finished second, which
They
is something that
utterly
I don't
failed
think
to
people think
consider.
about enough, right?
Right. They utterly failed to consider the fact that a second horse was going to finish in the top two, and that there was also a chance that those people were going to have a place price that was higher
That's what I
than
was gonna
their
say.
win plus place price.
Yep.
And so again, if you're that worried about $5,000 at this stage of a tournament, go bet the horse on the side, right?
Yep.
Go start a collection and do that if you need to, but you're in a life-changing opportunity here. I mean, there are horses that person could have picked multiple times throughout the day for six-figure different type of scores. And instead, with a race to go, they're playing around trying to score an extra $10,000. More power to them. Terrific that they got there, but this game changes dramatically once you get to the final table. And it just felt like this was a bunch of conservative people that couldn't get away from picking the horses they really liked, the horses they thought they were going to win. And there was just a large strategic element missing, except for a couple people.
Matt, I'm just going to say it very clearly. If I ever get the chance to be at the final table, looking at the prize pool, if I was on the lower end and I realized I wasn't going to win, I have one goal in mind. That's get to fifth. That's a $40,000 jump from sixth to fifth.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if I'm in seventh or eighth, I'm probably not going to go with the 52 to 1 shot, because first of all, the horse is not going to win. Secondly, other people are going to use that horse to block.
Yep.
$45,000 is nothing. $40,000 is nothing to sneeze at. That's would be my personal goal if I were towards the bottom. I'm not thinking about getting an extra 5. I'm not thinking about getting an extra 10. I'm thinking about getting an extra 40. In my mind, that could pay for a lot of things, not to mention 4 straight BCBC entries for the next 4 years. So that would be my mindset. Kyle, how do you feel about that mindset if you're at the bottom?
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say, where and I'll just let this be known, being there, not a single person on that board had the winner in this race. The winner was the number 9,
correct,
with Pratt on top, and not a single person had. I believe the top 3 had the 1, and then Paul Kalia blocked the 4. So
and the 9. Sorry to interrupt you, Kyle. The 9 for everyone out there was paid $11.45.60. So you could add 17. Let me go full screen. And again, hindsight's 2020. We get it. Okay, fine. You could add. Now that doesn't. We don't know what the other people in front of them would have, but you could add $17. If you add $17, if you're trying to get to fifth, I'm just looking at quickly. The 6th and 7th place. Is it just 6th and 7th? Yeah. Whoever's in 6th and 7th, in theory, could have jumped up to fifth and gotten $40,000 on top of where they were. So to me, Matt, that was something that is fair to at least talk about. And again, they went 3 to 2s, same person, and they had their reasons. I get it. $10,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not 40 or 45. And I just think that might have been a missed opportunity there.
Just make a smart bet. You might be on the wrong horse. You might have the wrong pick, but you can look at the math. You can look at the odds, and there is a right answer. There is a positive expected value. And if you, and by the way, if that positive expected value is with a bomber and your personality says, I know there's no chance that's going to happen, and I'm prepared to deal with that, but I don't want to bet too much on something that crazy. Okay, I don't mind someone being true to themselves if they have to, but still, there are still better plays than others, and you got to flex to something that at least makes sense. And I mean, many of these picks, it's just like playing a hand of poker. It's like the person only looked at their own cards and didn't bother to look at all at the faces of the other people sitting around the table. And they would have seen instantly what some of these people were doing. The number of people that willingly walked into blocking situations when the person in front of them only had one logical choice. Right. They just looked down, they saw a pair of queens and figured they were good. They didn't realize the person across the table was bouncing up and down with their aces and couldn't contain themselves. If they just bothered to look, they would have realized that they were going to get blocked. Right. And instead they were playing a different game, unfortunately.
Ironically, playing poker this week that weekend, I ran into pocket aces a few times, as Kyle knows. Fortunately, his ass wasn't one of them that had pocket aces. But Matt, we got to bring up this situation. It's on the bottom of the screen now. Jeff Amster, Gary Fenton, who finished third, was unbelievable in this event. Fantastic. He's the managing partner of Little Red Feather Racing, along with Billy Koch. He's obviously got a lot of money. I love Billy Koch. I love Little Red Feather. I just want to get that out right in the open. So Gary Fenton, if you hear this, I love everything you guys do for the game. But Matt, he, because of the situation, he was the only one allowed to play. I think it was, I'm going to say it was about the third to last race, somewhere around there. The third to last race, maybe the fourth to last race. He could not play because one of his horses was running in the race. So he was the only one playing in an Oaklawn race. And he decided to go with the lowest price horse at 2-1. Matt, you felt like that was a mistake.
So I think a couple things were a little crazy there. And by the way, this tournament is run impeccably well, and I don't really have anything negative to say. This was a really unusual situation. The one thing that I think they could have done differently to avoid the unbelievable advantage that this person had and squandered. It was brutally unfair to the other competitors, actually, almost to the point that I think the person might have intentionally thrown away their pick because they felt badly. That is the most logical explanation I can come up for their pick. But you're in a situation where you are unblockable. And when you get in a game theory, hand-to-hand combat situation where you are the only person that can advance, I mean, this was a golden opportunity just by fortune that the person had a horse in the race, and they're picking the 2-1 favorite. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be shocked if the person felt badly about the situation and laid down their pick to say, I'm sorry. I hope for their sake that was their intent, because if not, I don't have anything nicer to say than that.
Let's take a few comments, and Kyle, I'll have you comment. Racing Down Win says the same question to BCBC when you're playing real cash. There's only about 10 to 15 players in the event that will bet it all in the Classic. Matt Miller is one of them. But Kyle, I want to make this clear. Even in the BCBC, you don't have to bet all your money. All you have to do is figure out what bet you're going to make to get to where you want to get to. If you want to get to 150,000, if you have 70,000, you don't have to go 70,000 to win. On an 8-5 shot, you could play a Dutch exacta and get for $10,000 and get to 150. You don't have to go all in. You do, though, if you want to try to win the damn thing, you do have to figure out how much do I need to bet to get to that point.
Yeah, you're playing the number, right? Excuse me. And it comes down to the fact of, and we've done this before, and Matt will tell you about it. It's you're playing to the number that you set. You think that this is the number that's going to win the tournament. And you're right. You don't have to bet every single dollar you have in that race to win. Like you said, maybe you do an exacta for $20,000 total. And if you have 3 different opportunities, and if one of them hits, you get to that dollar amount. You set that bar for yourself. And that's one of the best things that I've learned in contest play from the man below me is you set your number and you go to it.
Well, and it's a matter for me of risk and reward. I know that my style seems crazy, but when you actually look at the chances I'm taking, they're pretty minimal. And so it's just a function of how you choose to play it. The way I describe this to be funny is, many of the players that think they are more sophisticated choose to try to hit this target from far away with a laser pointer. And I pick up a sledgehammer, walk right up to the target and smash it as hard as I can. And yeah, it's a bit brutish, but it's intimidating as heck to the field. And, if they get to a total higher than mine, so be it. But otherwise, you kind of know what I'm going to do, and it makes you into an uncomfortable position. This NHC, there's nothing like that. It is much more even-handed. You don't build up any kind of advantage other than maybe your ability to block. So it's a totally different ballgame.
That's the thing that makes me a little bit uneasy with people that were conservative. You're not even betting your own money. It's not even real money. It's not like, oh gosh, I've got to bet like $10,000 of my own money literally out of my pocket it's mythical. I mean, you're not even losing any money if you bet the wrong. I mean, I suppose you're losing money in theory because you're less up on the standings. Okay, fine, whatever. But you all know what I'm saying. It's not like you're pulling $10,000 literally out of your pocket to bet. And so why not go for it to some extent? But again, if $10,000 means a lot to you at that situation, and you can do it with a 3-2 shot, I guess I understand to some extent. It just seems like in that situation, it's just not the appropriate decision to make.
It doesn't take super sophisticated math in the situation to calculate the EV, the expected value of picking each horse. You just, again, you're not spending real money, but you're expending your pick. And you can look at the odds of the horse and what you project might happen in the standings. And there may be several horses that present positive opportunities. And like I said, if the riskiest one doesn't suit your personality because it seems so unlikely, right, pick a different one. But to ignore the concept of expected value entirely is literally just handing this thing away. And we did watch at least a couple people do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the blurriness. Sorry I have to do that, guys. I don't know if that's good. Sometimes that helps. I don't know. We're about to end the show here. Let's take a comment from Pete Visco, great co-host, of course. Definitely your positioning the top 10 and how high you can possibly get should drive the pick you make. Take the bomb if it can win the whole thing just for the hell of it. If you can win the whole thing, but the scenario, Pete, I just want to clarify that if you're in 5th or 6th, someone's going to be blocking with the 4. So you're not going to win the whole thing, but you could move up. I mean, so that's a bit of a trickier situation. But Pete, I think your point is taken. I think you're exactly right. Christine Race, this hour broadcast is like a collegiate course in handicapping. You won't find this kind of analogy anywhere else on the internet. Absolute privilege to be a part of the HHH handicapping channel. Christine, thank you very much. And DJ Understore says your check is in the mail, Christine. So anyway, a lot of great comments. Just see if there's anything else. I think we're good, guys. I think we've covered everything. Let me go ahead and put the banner up on the screen and wrap up the show. Guys, I have to wrap up the show by thanking the two of you without getting emotional here. I had an incredible experience at the NHC. It wouldn't be nearly the same without the two of you and everyone else involved. Drew Coatney, our BCBC crew, Brad Anderson. We didn't mention your name. We miss you. We wish you were there. We know we're going to see you soon. And his texting was just classic throughout. Everyone else that I mentioned at both tables were fantastic. And it's fun to get to the final round, and I hope to do better in the future. But it's much more fun to have people around you to share with, and it was pretty special, guys, on Saturday especially. So thank you very much to you guys. Any final thoughts, Kyle? I'll let you go first about the weekend or going forward. Has this inspired you to play more contests? You don't have to play contests that are expensive. I've seen that people who didn't know about contests like, oh, I can't spend $500. Feeders for like $18, $36 can get you there, right, Kyle?
And I'll tell the example. And like I said, I'm grateful for every single person I met. You guys were all amazing. But again, I'm going to shout out my come on nurse craps people. Because that's exactly what they did. He said that he's been in the game for 4 months. Shout out to Matt and shout out to Neil and his wife Alana for all the fun times that we had. But Neil, he said he's been playing for 4 months. He just got into the contests and he was in an $18 feeder in a pick and pray. So he put all his picks in, went to work, came back, and he won the thing. And then he got into a feeder, which was in the next one, which then had the NHC seats, which he then did well again and qualified. He qualified in like 5th place or something like that. So you do not need big money bags at all, but you just got to catch some lucky horses. But yeah, shout out to them because, like I said, like that just hammers home that, that moniker of you don't need to play these $5,000 contests to be able to play in something like this. You just got to be a little more lucky than the rest of us.
Matt, I've only been playing contests for about 2.5 years. I know people find that surprising. I just didn't know enough about contests or get into it. I'm damn proud. I don't care if that sounds arrogant or not. I hope to do better the next time, but I want to thank you, Matt, for your help this weekend. And any closing thoughts for yourself this weekend or going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you should be proud, and so should Nick. You did a great job. Philly Joe, you were killing it for a while. The the group did very well as a group, but you, Howard, in particular, it's tough walking into a room that big and feeling that small, and sticking to who you are and doing what you did. So you represented this podcast really well. I mean, the group watching here, Howard's a force in that room. He's known by a lot of people, and in not a lot of time, he's formed a lot of cool relationships. So, this is only going to continue to grow. It's a fun family here, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. It was a great time with you guys.
Well, thanks, Matt. And it is sort of surprising to meet people that are in the contest world that are very, very well known, and coming up to them and just being introduced to myself. I'm like, oh, I've seen you on the leaderboard. I know about you, or I know about a lot of people knew about the podcast. I mean, big names in the industry. So I'm just so thankful for all of you out there for watching. We greatly appreciate it. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom of the screen. Kyle, they got to sign up for the NCAA bracket. How much time do they have, Kyle, for the free $100? Not a lot of time, correct?
Nope. Last night. It is tomorrow morning is the start of the games. So get your brackets in tonight. It is on the channel. The video previous to this, Bettin and Boozin episode 11. You will find the link in the description for a free $100. So everyone plays the bracket anyway. Why not get into the group for free $100? There's a lot of people already in there. So thank you so much for everybody that has already entered.
Matt, you got the last word, Matt.
Just an inside joke for the group. I have to throw in a hashtag Psycho Bunny just in case they're watching.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think they know what that means. For my wonderful host of the Bettin and Boozin show, Kyle Roscoe, and wonderful guest, maybe he will co-host sometime. Who knows? Matt Miller. This has been your host, Howard Kravets, episode 237 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Join us tomorrow night, Thursday night, myself, Pete, and Paul, the regular flagship crew, to talk about a fantastic late pick 5 with 2 grade 3 stakes at Oaklawn Park for this Saturday. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.